On the surface, the shooting of an unarmed homeless man by police in Los Angeles has the potential to be another national flashpoint. But when you look beyond the actual incident, dig a little deeper, there's another issue here that often slips past anyone's gaze and is of major concern to America in a time of much needed national security. Let's welcome back to MidPoint the Director for Policy Studies at the Center for Immigration Studies, Jessica Vaughan, joins us. Jess, always a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thanks. Glad to be here.
Let's talk about this specifically with regard to immigration, and this is the homeless man's death in Los Angeles, because it came out initially as just another homeless individual, which of course is what many people latch onto. But the French government gave this guy a passport. It was a stolen name. He came to the U.S., robbed a bank, convicted and imprisoned under the same false name. The United States wanted to send him back to Cameroon. The country never responded, so they basically let him out into the general public because they couldn't do anything else with him. This is a big problem, Jessica, because people are always talking about the fact that illegals are coming here to do harm, and America should be able to pick these people out because not everybody is coming here to destroy the country.
Well, yes, there are a number of issues of concern here, but the most concerning is the one you mentioned, the fact that our immigration authorities were not able to remove this man to Cameroon because, well, they tried to remove him to France first, but that other countries essentially have veto power over our deportations. And in fact, in 2013, there were more than 100 people convicted of murder who could not be returned to their home country because their countries refused to accept them. And what's outrageous about this is that the Obama administration really has done nothing to try to address this problem. They simply say, oh, well, okay, and let them out onto the streets.
Well, the outrageous part of this is the taxpayer is the one who is paying the bill for it. And when these guys and gals commit crimes, guess who they commit crimes against? Many times American citizens.
Exactly right. And it's, you know, crime is not a job Americans won't do. We have plenty of American criminals. There's no reason to tolerate illegal aliens in our country who are committing crimes like this. And this case also sheds a light on some other problems, and that is the problem of not being able to accurately identify people who are here illegally. And this is especially a problem in California, where law enforcement agencies have been told that they may not communicate in some cases with ICE. They're not allowed to use certain biometric and other identification systems for non-citizen criminals. And they are basically told, you know, to ignore people's immigration status and crimes like identity theft. And this really is a big problem because, of course, law enforcement agencies want to be able to know who they're dealing with and have some way of identifying them. And now we have all kinds of roadblocks that have been put into place to keep that from happening, just to avoid immigration enforcement. And there are public safety consequences for that.
And then we, of course, have the Obama administration now setting a deadline. They're basically telling the district court judge in Texas that if they don't rule on his stay motion by Monday, then they're going to go up the ladder to the federal court. They're going to continue to fight this. Where do you think this is going to wind up?
Well, it's hard to say for sure, but I have a hard time imagining that a court of appeals is going to overturn this judge's injunction. You know, I think they're going to say that this should go to trial because, you know, of course, what's the emergency here for issuing these work permits? Enforcement in the interior of the country has deteriorated so much that none of these people really faces an actual threat of deportation. Hardly anyone does who's here illegally. So it's hard to make the case that, you know, there's some emergency for giving them work permits.
And I would guess you would say that some of these people who say, don't worry, it's only a couple of isolated incidents, they're just not getting it, are they?
No, these isolated incidents add up to thousands of cases, but you know, one is too many. We need to enforce our immigration laws for lots of reasons, but to protect the public is the most important.
It is just scary when you talk about this guy and find out he got a stolen passport, a stolen name, nobody knew who he was, and then he's back out on the streets. You have no idea who this person is because they can't keep track of it. That's the real problem. Jessica, we're all out of time, unfortunately. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll catch up with you again real soon.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Take care, Jessica. All right, coming up next, you're cold, you're depressed. You ready for that move to Florida or Arizona? Let us share in a little bit of your cold and depression when Cityscape comes up next. Fear not, we'll warm you up here on MidPoint.